What's good, YouTube? It's your boy, Blue Blood Sports TV, back at y'all with another one. So, undefeated unified WBC IBF welterweight world champion superstar boxer, who is widely considered by many to be top 3 best pound-for-pound fighters in the world, and Errol "The Truth" Spence Jr. Errol Spence Jr. 27 wins, no losses, no draw, 21 big wins by way of knockout. 32 years of age, 5'9.5" with a 72-inch arm reach. With that said, Errol Spence is going into a massive, highly anticipated unification showdown with WBA, World Boxing Association, welterweight world champion, Cuban star boxer, YORDENIS UGAS, okay? Errol Spence, YORDENIS UGAS is 27 wins, 4 losses, no draws, 12 wins by way of knockout. He is 35 years of age, stands at 5'9" with a 69-inch arm reach, okay? With that said, it's scheduled to take place April 16th, Arlington, Texas, AT&T, Dallas Cowboys Stadium. Errol Spence has a day named after him now. April 16th will be Errol "The Truth" Spence Jr. Day. And Errol Spence, he let it be known that after this fight with YORDENIS UGAS, he's achieving what he set out to achieve, which is to become unified. He's did that, and now he's looking to become undisputed, which means he wants to face off against his biggest rival, undefeated 3-division world champion, former junior welterweight undisputed world champion, currently the reigning WBO welterweight world champion, who is widely considered by many to be the #1 best pound-for-pound fighter in the world, in Terrence Crawford. Terrence Crawford is 38 wins, no losses, no draw, 29 big wins by way of knockout. He is 34 years of age, 5'8" with a 74-inch arm reach. With that said, that's the fight Errol Spence has alluded to and, pointing to that he wants next for undisputed. Well, the current promotional company that Errol Spence is with, PBC, Premier Boxing Champion, with founder and advisor Al Heyman, they are pushing for Errol Spence to possibly face off against former unified welterweight world champion superstar boxer Keith Thurman, who has 30 wins, 1 loss, no draw, 22 wins by way of knockout, 33 years of age, 5'7" with a 69-inch arm reach. With that said, Errol Spence had been seeking out a fight with Keith Thurman for quite some time. After 2017, Errol Spence, he got his opportunity to fight for a world title, his first fight out, when he faced off against former IBF welterweight world champion, British superstar boxer, Special K, Kell Brook, in the UK for his first title opportunity, in which he stopped Kell Brook in the 11th round of that fight. Broke his orbital bone and became a world champion for the first time, okay? And so Errol Spence, after that fight, he was seeking out a unification bout with Keith Thurman. Keith Thurman was giving Errol Spence the runaround, okay? Keith Thurman, he wasn't trying to commit to an Errol Spence fight. Keith Thurman, he continued to call Errol Spence the kid. The kid is going to get his opportunity. Keith Thurman was the unified champion at the time. Keith Thurman, he held the WBA and the WBC title. He beat Danny Garcia, 2-division world champion, Puerto Rican superstar boxer, in a unification bout for the WBC titles. And then everybody wanted to see Keith Thurman and Errol Spence face off against one another. And Keith Thurman, he went on a hiatus. That was in 2017. So Errol Spence, he won his belt from Kell Brook in 2017. He wanted to fight Keith Thurman in a unification bout. Keith Thurman wasn't trying to fight him. Keith Thurman then fought Danny Garcia. Errol Spence also wanted to fight Danny Garcia in a unification bout, but Danny Garcia too didn't want to give Errol Spence the opportunity. So they ended up fighting each other, that being Danny Garcia and Keith Thurman. And Keith Thurman, he beat Danny Garcia. And then Errol Spence was pushing for a massive unification bout. 3 belts would be on the line. Keith Thurman's WBA and WBC, Errol Spence's IBF. Keith Thurman then went on a hiatus, a 2-year hiatus, okay? Cited that he had injuries, and many people felt like Keith Thurman was using this as a way to, maneuver around facing Errol Spence Jr., that Keith Thurman didn't actually have the injuries sustained that was keeping him out the ring for 2 years, okay? So in that span, Okay, Keith Thurman, Errol Spence, they came face to face on the podiums, on at fights. Errol Spence was, aggressively pursuing Keith Thurman fight, right? Calling out Keith Thurman. When we gonna make it happen face to face? Keith Thurman kept saying, "You're gonna get your opportunity. Your time is gonna come. We gonna make it happen," right? Keith Thurman, he eventually admitted that he dropped the ball on this situation with Errol Spence. Keith Thurman, he stated that, he viewed Errol Spence as his Manny Pacquiao Floyd Mayweather fight. For those that don't know, Manny Pacquiao and Floyd Mayweather, they hold the record for the biggest fight in the history of the sport of boxing. Okay, and Keith Thurman, he stated that he was trying to allow that fight with Errol Spence to simmer and brew, into a massive showdown between the two of them. Okay, but Keith Thurman, he stated that, he dropped the ball. Why? Because then Keith Thurman going on his hiatus, okay, being inactive, Keith Thurman, was stripped of the WBC title due to inactivity. Okay, then Keith Thurman, he held on to the WBA title, but then Keith Thurman, he lost the WBA title to Manny Pacquiao in 2019. He came back, he defended his WBA title against Josito Lopez, which he showed vulnerabilities in that fight. He was badly hurt, looked like he was on the verge of getting stopped. He weathered the storm, he dropped Josito Lopez, and he won the fight. Well, then, and that was January of 2019. Then July of 2019, he defended his WBA title against legendary 8th division world champion, iconic Filipino superstar boxer Manny Pacquiao. And he lost a split decision to Manny Pacquiao. He was dropped in the first round. In the 10th round, he was badly hurt to the body, and he lost his title, okay? And then Keith Thurman went on another hiatus, okay? From 2019, July 2019, we didn't see Keith Thurman in the ring, didn't hear from Keith Thurman. Keith Thurman went on another hiatus where Keith Thurman was inactive, okay? Then he came back in 2021, okay, where he faced off against, in 2022, actually, when he faced off in January of 2022, when he faced off against Mario Barrios, who was a junior welterweight WBA regular champion at 140. Okay, Mario Barrios, he was brutally knocked out, dropped 3 times by a super featherweight and Gervonta Tank Davis, who moved up from 130 to 140 to challenge Mario Barrios at 140. He stopped Mario Barrios at the 11th round, dropped him 3 times, and then he moves up to welterweight, moves up 7 pounds north, fights Keith Thurman, and he hurts Keith Thurman multiple times. Keith Thurman never drops him, never knocks him out, and just didn't look great in the fight, okay? And so now the PBC is pushing Keith Thurman to fight Errol Spence, and Errol Spence is having none of it. So Errol Spence tells the PBC, take the L out of lover, right? It's over. I'm not fighting Keith Thurman, okay? He rejects the idea of fighting Keith Thurman. We know the WBC, the World Boxing Council, President Mauricio Suleiman, and the board of 32 members, they made Keith Thurman's fight with Mario Barrios a WBC eliminator, okay? So that he could be the mandatory for Errol Spence. Okay, so they're pushing for Keith Thurman to get this opportunity. Now Keith Thurman is saying that he should have the opportunity to fight Errol Spence. He wants to fight Errol Spence now. When Errol Spence was confronting Keith Thurman, when Errol Spence was pushing for the fight with Keith Thurman was having none of it, okay? None of it, okay? And so now Keith Thurman is willing to make it happen, and Errol Spence, he says he don't even like Keith Thurman, okay? He feel like Keith Thurman is fake. And now Keith Thurman has absolutely nothing to lose, okay, because he already lost the titles. Initially, Keith Thurman's motto was, I got an O and I ain't afraid to let it go, okay? Well, he wasn't attempting to let it go against Errol Spence Jr. He was saying he was trying to let it brew. And then Keith Thurman, he admitted later on, I dropped the ball on this situation with Errol Spence because I thought I was letting it brew. And then I ended up suffering injuries, as he stated. But again, remember, Errol Spence was feeling like Keith Thurman was faking the injuries just not to fight Errol Spence, okay? He was not attempting to fight Errol Spence Jr. He didn't want to fight Errol Spence Jr. So many people thought that even Errol Spence, that Keith Thurman was pretending that he was injured, pretending that, his injuries, he had an elbow injury. He stated, and then Keith Thurman stated when he had the elbow surgery, there's absolutely no way he's coming back to the sport of boxing and fighting Errol Spence Jr., okay? But then he ended up fighting Manny Pacquiao, okay? So you got to understand where Errol Spence is coming from, okay? He stated that, you know, he wasn't going to fight the likes of Errol Spence coming off of an elbow injury. You know, it was a get back year, is what Keith Thurman stated, and that he was just going to wait, you know, until, you know, he got healthy and was fully confident in himself and his abilities, and he got the ring rust off before he fight Errol Spence. Well, he fought Josito Lopez. He could have fought Errol Spence in a unification bout, but then he got the actual fight that, you know, he was saying was letting brew him, but like he wanted the Errol Spence fight to be his Manny Pacquiao Floyd Mayweather fight. Well, he ended up getting the Manny Pacquiao fight, and he wasn't successful. And then so he lost. So Errol Spence is saying, listen, you had your opportunity. We could have unified the belts. You never wanted to fight me. You stated you was having a get back year. You was going to take the entire year to have a bunch of tune-up fights and stay busy fights to get the ring rust off before you fought Errol Spence. And it just never came to fruition. Now Errol Spence is saying, what does Keith Thurman bring to the table? Absolutely nothing. Okay, Keith Thurman brings zero to the table. Keith Thurman is not, relevant as he once was. You know, at one point in time, Keith Thurman versus Errol Spence was viewed as, that was viewed as the biggest fight in the welterweight division at one point in time. And Keith Thurman dropped the ball, right? 4 years inactivity, almost 4.5 years of inactivity. Then he took a loss. He looked vulnerable against Josito Lopez. He looked vulnerable against Manny Pacquiao. He looked vulnerable against Mario Barrios. And Errol Spence's PBC is pushing for this fight. They're putting up promos and they putting up interviews of Keith Thurman and saying, should this fight happen next? And Errol Spence is saying, it's over. It ain't happening. So he rejects the idea of the PBC pushing for the fight, and Errol Spence letting it be known, I want Terrence Crawford next, or I'm moving up to junior middleweight to I'm been done with the 147-pound division. So Errol Spence letting it be known, I've been done with the 147-pound division for quite some time. If I'm not getting the biggest fight in the sport of boxing between myself and Terrence Crawford next, there is no Keith Thurman in me. I'm moving up to junior middleweight. So he rejects PBC's push for Errol Spence and Keith Thurman, and he rejects Keith Thurman overall. So let's see how this unfolds and plays out. But that's all I got for y'all. Make sure you hit the like button, drop a comment in the comment section. Let me know what y'all think. Y'all already know what it is. It's your boy Blue Blood Sports TV. Hate, like, comment, and subscribe. You haven't subscribed, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, hit the bell icon to get all the new notifications. Follow me on Instagram at Blue Blood Sports TV, all one word. Y'all already know what it is. Shout out to the entire LDBC. Shout out to New Media. Shout out to Black Media Raw. Make sure you like and share these videos. That's all I got for y'all. Peace.